It is often said that temptation begins with a whisper. It neither pounds on the door nor shouts in your presence. It creeps in gradually, until you sense its breath against your neck in the solitude of your own company. That is the effect it had on me. And so it was that I found myself rapping gently on my boss's bedroom door at the stroke of midnight, clad only in a delicate silk robe and a heart brimming with desire. Elena is my name. At 25 years old, I find myself single and immersed in the rewarding role of a live-in nanny for a lovely family in the vibrant city of Miami. Natalie, the mother, embodies sweetness and kindness, perhaps to an excessive degree. She regarded me as if I were her younger sister. Her husband, Gregory, was a character all his own. Lofty, expansive shoulders, hair of salt and pepper hues. His deep voice sent shivers down my spine, leaving my legs trembling each time he uttered my name. Gregory possessed a charm that transcended mere handsomeness. He possessed immense power. A man who entered a room and cast a shadow over all, leaving others feeling diminished in his presence. His gaze lingered on me at times, a heartbeat too long, a fraction too low. And in those moments, I sensed that I wasn't alone in experiencing something perilous. The tale began on the evening Natalie departed for a week-long business journey. The silence enveloped the house, a chill settling in the air. Responsibility was expected of me, yet all I could sense was a surge within, a fierce and untamed heat. Sleep eluded me that night. I writhed restlessly, clad in that delicate robe I had always hesitated to don. My room lay just across the hall from his, and with each passing minute, the rhythm of my heart quickened. Was it wild? Most likely. Yet I found myself indifferent to it all. I found myself in need of him. With careful steps I made my way down the hallway. The dwelling lay shrouded in darkness, enveloped in an eerie silence. The silence was punctuated only by the gentle hum of the fridge downstairs. I found myself standing before his door. My fingers quivered with uncertainty. My breath was momentarily stolen, my nipples pressed against the silk, the fabric gliding over them as I raised my hand. Then I rapped upon the door. Only a single time, gently. I found myself wishing he might remain oblivious. Yet he did. The door groaned as it swung ajar, revealing him in the threshold. Without a shirt, with eyes heavy with slumber, truly awe-inspiring. "Elena," he murmured, his voice deep and gravelly. "Is all well?" I gulped with difficulty. Heat flooded my cheeks. My thighs were pressed together. I found myself unable to drift into slumber. I murmured softly, "May I enter?" He paused briefly, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. His gaze fell to my robe, my exposed legs, the gentle arc of my hip. His jaw tightened, yet he moved aside. As I stepped inside, the air was infused with his essence, wood, spice, and an indefinable hint of masculinity that eluded my grasp. He shut the door softly as I stepped away. "What's the matter?" he inquired. I pivoted to meet his gaze. My heart raced with intensity. "I'm not quite sure how to express this," I murmured gently. "Yet you had occupied my thoughts for weeks on end." His gaze deepened into shadows. He advanced toward me with deliberate slowness. "Elena, you understand that this is not right." "I understand," I murmured. Yet I remain indifferent. He was mere inches away now. The warmth radiated from his form, enveloping me in a palpable embrace. His chest rose and fell in a deliberate rhythm. His gaze fell from my lips, trailing downward. "Are you interested in this?" he inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "Indeed." He pressed his lips against mine. With a firm hand, not at a leisurely pace, it was ablaze. An intense, primal yearning flowed from his lips to mine. His hands clasped my waist, drawing me closer, and I inhaled sharply as I sensed his desire pressing through the fabric of his shorts. I sighed softly against his lips, my fingers pressing into his back as he effortlessly lifted me and carried me to the bed. The robe parted as I reclined, and his gaze explored every contour of my being. He pressed his lips against my neck, then my chest, and further still, his mouth igniting a trail of heat as his hands roamed over every inch of me I had longed for him to caress. My thoughts had ceased to flow. I felt no concern for Natalie, Nor did I ponder the notions of right or wrong. All I understood was that I was finally savoring what I had longed for. He bestowed it upon me throughout the night. Repeatedly. He stirred emotions within me that were entirely new and unfamiliar. The manner in which he caressed me, the softness of his whispers in my ear, the embrace that followed, it transcended the boundaries of a mere evening. It was a door that swung wide, a threshold neither of us could ever hope to shut again. As I stirred from slumber, I found myself nestled in his bed, ensnared by the soft embrace of his sheets, his arms securely holding me close. It was on that night that everything started. Yet it would not end there. We were unable to halt our progress. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our incredible subscribers of True Infidelity Stories. Your presence inspires us to share these profound, heartfelt, and passionate tales. If this is your first visit, be sure to subscribe and become part of our expanding community. There is an abundance of insights and stories waiting to be unveiled to you. As I stirred from slumber, I found my head resting gently on his chest, feeling the tender rhythm of his breath beneath me. The sheets entwined themselves around our legs. The robe lay discarded upon the floor. And he still kept his arm around me as if he was reluctant to release his hold. For a fleeting instant, I shut my eyes and imagined that I belonged to him, as if I were meant to be there, nestled in his embrace, resting in his space woven into his existence. Yet the truth seeped in, a cold breeze unsettling the warmth. This was the spouse of Natalie, my superior. A man I was never meant to lay a finger on, much less savor in the way I did last night. Yet I found no room for regret, not at all. His hand glided deliberately along my back. "Are you all right?" he inquired with that rich, languid tone that sent a thrill through my core. I gazed up at him, my lip caught between my teeth, superior to merely satisfactory. He offered a smile. Oh, that smile! It caused my heart to flutter. "I didn't expect that," he said, gently brushing a strand of hair from my cheek. "Your arrival took me by surprise." I turned over, positioning myself softly atop him, the fabric of the sheets cascading down to my waist. I leaned in and kissed him once more, this time with a gentler touch, savoring the lips that had left me undone the night prior. "I'm not finished with you," I murmured, my fingers gliding down his chest. He let out a soft groan, his eyes deepening once more. "You possess an air of danger." "No," I murmured, descending the bed, my lips brushing against his stomach, then trailing lower. "I belong to you." He propped himself up a bit, yet I gently urged him back down with a smile. He understood my intentions, yet he chose not to intervene. I sought to bring him joy. I longed for him to carry my memory with him, lingering in his thoughts each time he shut his eyes. I embraced him with my lips, savoring each moment, drawing it out with playful intent. His fingers wove through my hair as I shifted. We kissed with a hunger that had been silenced for far too long, my hands cradling him with a gentle yet firm touch. He let out a low moan, an intense, unfiltered resonance that conveyed all I sought to understand. "Elena." He inhaled sharply. "Oh, the sensation you bring is simply exquisite." I pressed on without hesitation. I offered him all of me, in a manner that was slow, profound, drenched, and fervent. I yearned for him to surrender to chaos, and he indeed did. His body grew taut. He emitted a deep groan, his fingers clutching the sheets tightly. I gave all of myself to him, not in words but in closeness and surrender, my gaze fixed on him throughout, and as I returned to Nestle beside him, he drew me in and murmured words that will forever linger in my memory. No one has ever evoked such feelings within me." I blinked. "Not even your spouse?" He hesitated before responding. He turned his gaze toward me, a blend of seriousness and vulnerability etched across his features. "It has been quite some time since Natalie and I shared a close bond. She is occupied, perpetually weary. Our kisses have become a rare occurrence." I pressed my teeth into my lip. I had no desire to feel pity for him, desire to remain untouched faded. Yet the moment had already slipped away. "She is fortunate," I murmured. "No," he said, his thumb gliding softly over my lips. "I consider myself fortunate." We lingered in bed for hours, wrapped in the warmth of our shared cocoon. Engaging in conversation, embracing the warmth of lips meeting, a tender connection unfolds. Moving, engaging in intimacy repeatedly, as if we were attempting to compensate for all the solitary nights we had endured together. Yet, the morning light gradually seeped through the curtains, and with it arrived the weight of remorse. I quietly slipped out of his bed and made my way back to my room, just in time to avoid the awakening of the kids. I stood before the mirror, gazing at my reflection, taking in my swollen lips, the crimson marks adorning my neck, and the radiant flush on my cheeks. I appeared as though I were an entirely different woman, a woman who had ventured beyond a boundary she could never return from. But here's the wildest twist. I yearned to traverse it once more. On that day, we endeavored to maintain a facade of normalcy. The morning begins with breakfast, followed by the school drop-off, and then the task of cleaning the house awaits. Yet the glances exchanged between us ignited with intensity. In the kitchen, he glided by me, his voice low as he murmured, "You're all I've been thinking about." In the laundry room, he pressed his lips to mine against the door, a secret moment shared when no one else was around. As the evening unfolded, restraint slipped away from us. I returned to his room before dinner, and he drew me onto his lap as if I were meant to be there. During that week of Natalie's absence, we found ourselves irresistibly drawn to one another. Our moment unfolded in the shower, upon the couch in the living room, within the confines of his office, late one night beneath the stars by the pool. Transcended mere physicality. It was fervor, desire, craving. Each kiss delved deeper, each touch grew increasingly urgent. We danced with danger, fully aware of the risks we were taking. Yet we found ourselves unable to halt. We were reluctant to bring it to a close. Once more, I found myself enveloped in his embrace that evening. His powerful hands clasped my waist as he held me as if he feared letting go, and our bodies melted into one another in the quiet of the night with a deliberate slowness, as if he were attempting to etch the sensation of me into his memory. Our bodies intertwined in flawless harmony, slick with sweat and ensnared in the sheets. Each moan that slipped from my lips was consumed by his mouth, every gasp met with a thrust that erased my sense of place. It had transcended mere desire. It exuded a sense of peril. It felt as though I was destined to be in his bed, as if my place had always been here rather than merely as the nanny. "Elena," he murmured, his voice heavy with longing, "your actions are pushing me to the brink of madness." I smiled in the shadows, continuing to ride him slowly, clinging to the tension that surged between us like an impending storm. "Good," I murmured softly into his ear. "I desire to bring about your downfall." Indeed I did. Evening after evening, we acted with abandon, driven by urgency, and utterly consumed by our cravings. Yet, the reality of toying with flames? It has an uncanny ability to sear you every time. It transpired on a Thursday. In the kitchen, clad in a loose tank top with nothing beneath, I hummed softly to myself while preparing the kids' lunchboxes. He pressed his lips to mine by the fridge, his breath warm against my ear as he murmured his desire for me in his office after the kids were gone. A smile spread across my face, my body yearning for his touch. At that moment, the front door swung open, and all was reduced to fragments. "Greetings." Natalie's voice echoed through the corridor. I stood still, my body paralyzed in that moment. He did as well. Her return was anticipated on Saturday, but there she was, entering with her suitcase in tow and a weary smile, as if she hadn't just returned prematurely from a business trip that was safeguarding our secret. "Oh my goodness," she exclaimed, spreading her arms wide for the children. "I've been longing for all of you dearly." I spun around quickly, attempting to conceal my face, my heart racing wildly. He moved closer, embracing her in a clumsy manner before pressing a kiss to her cheek. "You're back early," he remarked, attempting to maintain an air of nonchalance. Indeed, the last couple of meetings were called off. I thought it would be delightful to catch everyone off guard. She pivoted in my direction. "Elena, I truly appreciate all that you did for me during my absence." I inclined my head, mustering a smile. "Certainly, it is always a delight." Yet within, a tempest of cries surged forth. There was hardly a moment to spare for washing the sheets. That afternoon, an unsettling air hung over everything. He scarcely cast a glance in my direction. She remained near him, encircling him with her arms, her laughter ringing out as if she were asserting her rightful place once more. I experienced a profound sense of invisibility, neglected. Yet, as the night deepened and the world outside fell silent, a gentle knock echoed at my door. It was indeed him. With deliberate care, I eased it open. He lingered in sweatpants and a snug shirt, his eyes brimming with a mix of guilt and hunger. He spoke of her kiss, a moment etched in his memory. It filled me with disdain. I remained silent. I swiftly drew him inside and secured the door behind us. He brought me to that very spot, my back against the wall. Swift, unrefined, quiet. His hand pressed against my mouth as he plunged deep within me, again and again, until I unraveled in his embrace, my fingers digging into his back. I missed you, he groaned into my neck. I found myself lost in thoughts of your mouth, your hands, your voice. All things. I sank to my knees and welcomed him into my mouth once more, reminiscent of that initial encounter. He reclined against the wall, a low groan escaping his lips, his fingers entwined in my hair. Elena, O.F. *K, he breathed out in astonishment. You evoke a sense of joy that surpasses anything I have ever experienced. No one has ever treated me this way. His words drew me in, urging me to explore further, to linger, to tease him until he nearly faltered beneath the weight of desire. He arrived with a muffled groan, attempting to keep his voice down, yet I was certain she would catch wind of it if she were still awake. Afterward, he kissed me as if the world around us had faded away. Yet I did. I invested too deeply. I ought to have put an end to it. I should have turned away that night when he entered my room and kissed me as if I were the very air he needed to survive. Yet I refrained. I welcomed him back into my being, within the depths of my heart, and further into the depths of my being. We embraced each other with a hunger that felt insatiable. His lips brushed against my skin, my legs encircled his waist, my sighs lost within his embrace. In the aftermath, we remained enveloped in quietude, just listening to each other's breathing. I'm falling for you, he murmured softly. I find myself at a loss for how to bring this to a halt. I stood in the shadows, my mind a blank slate, grappling with the silence that enveloped me. Yet I experienced it as well. Perhaps that was the very thing that led us to become careless, for it was on the following day that everything unraveled. A phone lay abandoned on the kitchen counter, marking the beginning of an unexpected tale. The device he carries. He found himself upstairs, surrounded by the children. As I stood at the sink, my hands submerged in warm, soapy water, I found myself washing the dishes. Natalie, his wife, was meant to be enjoying brunch with her friend, yet she returned sooner than expected. Initially, her voice eluded my ears. She walked in quietly. The sound of her heels echoed gently against the hardwood floors. She hesitated as her gaze fell upon the phone vibrating on the counter. With a sense of intrigue, she reached for it. As I pivoted, I caught a glimpse of her face draining of color. She immersed herself in the words of a message. A note addressed to me. Last night was truly unforgettable. Your essence lingers on my palate. I desire more. Her fingers curled more firmly around the phone. Her gaze gradually shifted in my direction. Stillness. Subsequently, what on earth is this? I stood still, the plate I held slipping from my grasp and shattering in the sink. I am Natalie, yet she was already ascending the stairs, phone clutched tightly, fury etched across her features. I trailed after her, a surge of anxiety coursing through me, my heart racing wildly within my chest. She stormed into their bedroom, finding him assisting the kids with their changes. Have you been involved with the nanny? He spun around, bewildered. Natalie, hold on a moment. With a swift motion, she hurled the phone in his direction. Do not even think about deceiving me. The children gazed, a mix of bewilderment and fear etched on their faces. Leave, she commanded, her finger directed at me. Natalie, leave my home. I retreated, shaking, filled with shame and utterly devastated. In a mere 10 minutes, I swiftly packed my bags. He attempted to pursue me as I exited, attempted to articulate, yet she positioned herself between us like a tempest, guarding the remnants of her dignity and her kin. I stepped outside. Just as simple as that. The affair had come to an end. Yet what of the damage? The deed was accomplished. Time slipped away week by week. I discovered a cozy little apartment and secured a part-time job in another place. I maintained a low profile. I endeavored to erase the memory of how he stirred my emotions. The way he caressed me made me feel as though I were the sole woman in existence. On a particular night, my phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. It was indeed him. She has departed, accompanied the children, initiated divorce proceedings. Everything slipped away from my grasp, leaving only the echo of your memory behind. The screen held my gaze for what felt like an eternity. Emotion surged within me, causing tears to gather in my eyes. I felt compelled to respond. I felt the urge to express how much I missed him, that he continued to inhabit my dreams. I could still sense his presence within me. However, I chose not to. I switched off my phone and nestled into the comfort of my bed. For certain love stories, brevity, temptation, and lasting impressions are their very essence. Similar to ours,